Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer, and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last time, we took on Pokemon Emerald with a single Cyndaquil, a run which was quite smooth in some places, but mind-destroyingly brutal in others, so all in all, not a bad challenge. Link is in the card. Today though, we're going to the next generation as we answer the question of whether or not I can beat Pokemon Pearl with just a single Bronzor. You're probably familiar with this Pokemon. You've probably battled it, especially if you played the Sinnoh games. We're Steel Psychic type with a base stat total of 300, nearly 2/3 of which is our defensive stats. Our attack stats and speed are poor, very poor, so we can take hits but not give it back. We're weak to ground and fire. If this was Gen 6, we'd also be weak to Ghost and Dark, but it isn't, so we're not. We resist Normal, Flying, Rock, Steel, Grass, Psychic, Ice and Dragon. So that's nice, especially considering there's major trainers in most of those types, with Rock, Gardenia, Byron and Lucian. Our ability will either be Levitate or Heat Proof. I wouldn't mind the former, but either one effectively wipes out one of our weaknesses. Move-wise, we get some interesting ones. Confusion will be good for the Rock Gym, at least until we get Extra Sensory. I could get some use out of Iron Defense. I'd use Gyro Ball, but that low PP will probably not help. Feint Attack could be good for coverage. I'll probably not use it, but if I wanted to troll opponents, then Heal Block could be handy. In terms of TM coverage, we get a lot of different moves. Rock moves, Grass moves, Electric, Ghost, Psychic, Dark, Ground, Normal. I could even run Trick Room if I wanted to. That's one way to get around the lack of speed. Predictions then. I think we'll be okay for the first few gyms. A lot depends on what ability we get. If we get Levitate, we'll probably be good for quite a bit of the game where enemies are concerned. Many enemies have Earthquake as coverage, it feels. I can see the Ghost Gym being annoying, as well as the Steel Gym. The rival will likely be annoying. Team Galactic, especially the Mars and Jupiter double battle and the final Cyrus fight, will be horrible. Depending on the ability, either Bertha will be hard in the Elite Four, or Flint will be. Cynthia, I think, will struggle to damage. Also, Lucian's Bronzong is going to be horrific. Just the rules. In combat, I can only use Bronzor. Other Pokemon will be needed for HMs but unable to fight. Insert joke about Sinnoh being HM heavy here. Only held items and Pokeballs are permitted to be used in battle, but healing is permitted outside of battle. Last of all, no glitches or exploits. If you do like what you see, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, click the comments section. See, I considered this for a while. What should I replace as a starter? See, if I make it so that the rival has Turtwig, its primary type is resisted by Bronzor, and Torterra's secondary type could either be super effective or Bronzor could be immune. Same with Infernape, we could have the Heat Proof ability, which makes fire do neutral damage. So, I turn to Piplup. When it evolves into Empoleon, it'll likely be the hardest for us to damage, so I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Chimchar with Bronzor. Maybe that's a decision that'll bite me, hard to say. I head to the lake with Rod just to see what happens. I was a little worried that we'd get attacked, but no real issues, right until a few vicious looking Starly tried to tear us limb from limb. Well, don't mess with birds, I guess. We both grab a Pokeball and start to fend them off. Our Metal Disc manages to fend off the Starly. I'd not be that worried even if it did hit us, if I'm honest, since it'd probably do more damage to itself. Can you imagine if Pokemon works that way? Level 2 Starly hits something at level 100 with huge defense and injures itself. It'd be hilarious. Anyway, let's look at Bronzor. Ah, nuts, we got Heat Proof. I wanted Levitate. Mind you, that's probably just made things harder. We've also got the Naughty Nature, so that's increased attack and lowered special defense. I don't know what to make of that. If I was going to get a Nature which benefited an attack stat, I'd have probably preferred the special attack, but it is what it is. I suppose our special defense is going to be decent regardless. Professor Rowan gives me the Bronzor, who I rather imaginatively can't think of a nickname for, and decide to nickname Bronzy. That is ridiculous, and I immediately regret it. Oh well, he also sets me following in the footsteps of my Hisuian ancestor and wants me to complete the Pokédex. Didn't this already get done all those years ago? Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Normally, I have an idea, but here, I genuinely do not know where I want to spread my EVs. I know that we get quite a few decent special moves, so I head north of Jubilife and beat up Budew and Psyduck for a bit. Well, that's the initial plan, but I do some training on Zubat and Geodude in the Ravage path to work on speed and defence. If I want the special stat buffed, I might just have to teach it Calm Mind. Anyway, before long, there's a fight with Rod. I'd like to say this is a close fight, but Starly is a 2-hit with Confusion, using only a Growl. I hit Piplup with Confusion, it takes it better than Starly does, and then counter-attacks. It puffs up its chest and swings a mighty flipper into a pound attack. Bronzy takes 1 point of damage and looks summarily unimpressed, no doubt. Anyway, 2 more Confusions, take it out. I do train up a bit in the Orberg mine before the confrontation with Rourke. There's a lot of Geodude and Onix there, and I'm interested in working on that defence stat. I go tackle him at level 21. I feel like I might need to be over leveled for a few fights in this game. Maybe not this one, but we'll see. We don't hit hard. Mind you, we do hit hard enough to one-hit Geodude versus Rourke. Cranidos is tougher. We don't hit it hard enough to 2-hit it after Rourke cheeses a potion, so it's 3 hits to take out the fossil Pokemon. Last is Onix. It was a 2-hit with extra sensory, but does hit a rock throw for a whopping 2 points of damage. The next major fight is the one at the Valley Windworks against Commander Mars of Team Galactic. She's notoriously troublesome thanks to her Pure Ugly. She uses a Bronzor of her own later in the game, and I'd be worried if she had it here because we've got nothing for dealing with steel types at the moment. Zubat is easy, we outspeed and hit extra sensory. Pure Ugly is harder, as predicted. It can hit us, but not hard. I throw up a Confuse Ray to slow it down, but it doesn't do that much. We do take it down eventually, but not swiftly. Next is Eterna City, and we've got the face-off with Gardenia, the Grass-type gym leader. I can see this fight being a mirror for how many of them do go over the course of this run. We get a flinch on Cherubi with extra sensory and take it down with a second one. Turtwig is also a 2-hit with extra sensory, but hits a weak Grass Snot. Roserade is last. Now it does paralyse us, but we'd likely be slower anyway. And even when it does hit Grass Snot, it doesn't do a lot of damage. Thanks to her healing over and over, it takes a while to knock it out, even with a super effective move. But eventually, we do take it down, we take the second badge, and move on. We've got the Jupiter fight next at the top of the Eterna Galactic building. Team Galactic's admins were so much more interesting than the Gen 3 admins. Actually, with the exception of maybe Plumeria, I think her name was, I think they were probably more interesting and memorable than most that came before or after. Anyway, Jupiter. There's going to be a rather huge issue versus her. We can't use extra sensory, our main move, on her Skunk Tank. I see what type our hidden power is as a possible tactical option, and it turns out to be Psychic type, which is pretty unhelpful. Anyway, her Zubat goes down to a single extra sensory, but Skuntank, this is a long fight. I confuse it, I go for Iron Defense, it lands a Night Slash on the first turn, and then chooses not to deal damage again for the entirety of the fight, choosing to go for Screech and Smokescreen. Even with 3 Smokescreens hitting Bronzy, we don't miss a move, be it either Confuse Ray or Tackle. Sure, Tackle hits with all the force of a wet sponge rather than a solid metal disc, but what can you do? It's long. That's the general gist of what I'm saying about this fight. Anyway, the Skunk goes down. In Hearthome City, we can't tackle the Ghost Gym yet, not until we're stronger, but instead we get a rival fight with Rod. Starly is easily disposed of thanks to extra sensory, but the others put up a bit more resistance. Ponyta and Prinplup take 2 hits each to take out, and they land blows of their own, but the one that causes the most irritation, surprisingly, is Roselia. It paralyses us with Stun Spore, and as a result, it drags the fight on a little longer, since even with a super effective move, we can't one-hit it. And I will point out, this is with a 15 level advantage, keep in mind. Next gym I choose to go to is the Fighting Gym. We do have a stab, super effective, 80 base power move, so we should have a good shot here. Granted, Lucario might be an issue, but maybe we'll have enough to brute force it. I suppose we'll see. Meditite we confuse as it starts to use Meditate. It gets 3 of them off while we build up our defence with Iron Defence. 3 of them get used and then we take Meditite out with extra sensory. Lucario is a pain thanks to healing. It knows Bone Rush and we're not immune to ground moves, so this is largely the reason that I used 3 Iron Defences. Each Bone Rush still does 4 HP a hit and it is a multi-hit move, Metal Claw and Drain Punch attacks do very little, but we can't really hurt it with our extrasensory and return attacks as I try to massage it below the healing range. It takes a long time to knock it out, and Machoke at the last is a bit of an anticlimax as it goes down to a soul return. This was at level 42, and I think we'd have struggled at a lower level thanks to our damage output. Cynthia's Lucario should be fun at the end of the game. The next major fight is the Water Temple. That's not a mistake, by the way. Crash Awake's gym always reminds me of the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. Anyway, I make a grave misjudgment on Gyarados as I try to set up iron defences, only to discover it knows Dragon Rage. Swagger isn't that much of an issue, Confusion is a pain, but even with +2 attack, we don't hurt ourselves that much. Dragon Rage though hurts us bad, and really it's probably what costs us the fight. It takes a lot to bring down Gyarados, even with a 20 level advantage. It doesn't help that Wake's signature move is Brine, something that does more damage if you're under half health, so that Dragon Rage, wiping out a third of our HP, was brutal. Quagsire could probably finish us off if it didn't choose to only use Mud Sport. Thanks to Wake healing it, it lasts longer, but ultimately goes down. Floatzel is last, and a Brine brings us down to 3 HP. Extrasensory hurts it pretty badly, but it goes for Ice Fang. We buffed our defence and we resist ice, but Bronzy is just too weak to survive it at that point and goes crashing down. That was disappointing. I guess we go again then. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm starting to believe that teaching Bronzy Grass Knot might be a good thing. It'll be good here, especially for Quagsire. It'll probably be useful for the Steel Gym too, plus the rival with his water starter. The move logistics are going to be horrific going forward, I think, trying to work out what 4 moves are best for Bronzy. I replace Iron Defence, but the second attempt on Wake goes pretty badly, as we don't even get past Gyarados this time, thanks to Swagger. It shrugs Grass Knot off pretty easily. I think Gyarados has pretty high special defence, so that accounts for it most likely. I head off to do a bit of grinding, and then at level 49 I make a third attempt on Alan Wake's Luchador brother. Gyarados is still a monster. It hammers away with Dragon Rage and Bite attacks to deal big damage. Our extrasensory and Grass Knot attacks do okay damage, but nothing decisive. At the very least, it'll probably take 3 hits to knock it out. It's a good thing I utilised the Shell Bell for the health recovery. Wake, healing his Sea Serpent, probably didn't help in the fight, but eventually it goes down. Quagsire is a single hit with Grass Knot, even with our bad special attack, before Floatzel comes out and starts nailing brines and we start hitting extrasensory attacks. It's a close fight, but eventually, with 7 HP remaining, Bronzy manages to down Floatzel and I breathe a huge sigh of relief. Woo! As we try to continue the story, there's a rival fight with Rod, and this one is easy, bar Prinplup being awkward. Starly is as 1 hit with extrasensory, before Ponyta comes out next and goes down quickly in the same way. I hit extrasensory on Prinplup before it hits a peck for a massive 2 points of damage, and then I misjudge just how much damage Grass Knot will do, and it survives the second hit. It misses a Metal Claw, and then goes down to return, before Roselia is a 1 hit with a super effective extrasensory. I've got story stuff now before I can go and challenge the Ghost Gym. That one might be awkward. I waste a little time trying to catch a Chansey with a Lucky Egg, but give up after I get 3 of them in the PC eventually, with no joy. Anyway, that's out the way, let's go tackle Fantina. I do find the TM for Shadow Ball, and that could be useful for dealing with Bronzor going forward. I think it's probably going to be more useful than Return. This is an interesting fight with Fantina. Drifblim is a 2 hit with Shadow Ball. It lands a Limp Gust attack in exchange, which Bronzy ignores. Mismagius is next, and this hits a Shadow Ball of its own for decent damage. Our own Shadow Ball does slightly under half its health, but we do get a crucial special defence drop, meaning we can take it out on the next turn after getting clipped with Magical Leaf. Gengar lands Confuse Ray and Spite, but we take it out with Shadow Ball and Extrasensory. That wasn't too bad. I know we had a level advantage, but it could have turned nasty. Ghost Trainers can always be tricky. Look at Phoebe in Gen 3 and Morty in Gen 2. On the road to Canalave City, I hit Bulbapedia to see where I can get the TM for Carmine, as it's something I'm interested in. Unfortunately, it's only available in the post-game, so that's not good. In the city, there's a fight with Rod. This is pretty simple, as first Staravia goes down to a solo Extrasensory, and next is Ponyta. It takes 2 of the same move to take down the Fire Horse. Incidentally, I once took on this very game with just a solo Ponyta. Card on screen now. Heracross goes down to extra sensory, and Prinplup is a lot tougher as it survives 2 extra sensories but only hits Limp Fury attacks on Bronzy's hard metal body, and we take it out with Grass Knot before one-shotting Roselia at the last. The Steel Gym. This is going to suck pretty badly, I think. You have no idea how accurate that prediction turns out to be. Bronzor takes 7 hits to knock out with Shadow Ball, thanks to Byron healing it. I'm fortunate that it can't really hurt me, and for as long as this battle goes on, I never actually looked like losing it. Unfortunately, it looked doubtful, as if I'd win it either. Bronzor can't really hurt us, we eventually take it down. Of Byron's 3 Pokemon, Steelix is actually the easiest, as it goes down to 2 Grass Knot attacks. Bastiodon though, this fight goes on for ages. I mean it. Thanks to him using a potion and the thing knowing rest, it probably takes well over 7 minutes of real time for this fight to conclude. Grass Knot barely does anything, so I empty a barrage of Shadow Balls into it, hoping to get a special defense drop. Would you believe I fired off all 15 Shadow Balls across this fight and didn't get a single debuff on the opponent throughout? Even when I resort to Grass Knot, it's a case of a few blows before it goes to sleep. I get it onto red health once and then the Hyper Potion comes out. Not good. It's even worse when he gets the stat buff off an Ancient Power, because, of course he does. The end of the fight is astounding, as I hit a Confuse Ray and get incredible luck. It manages to hit itself something like 3 or 4 times in a row, and we take it down with one of our last Grass Knot power points. I knew that was going to be bad, and I'm truly worried about Lucian's Bronzong at the end now. Mind you, we can get a move before then that I think might benefit us for the Pokemon League. Next is plot stuff, as we have to fight Team Galactic Commanders. Saturn is first, and he's not too bad. His Kadabra is a 2-hit with Shadow Ball, despite it outspeeding and using Embargo and Recover. It goes down, and we turn our attention to Toxicroak, who is a 1-hit with extra sensory. Last is Bronzor, and we start to hammer it with Shadow Balls, a strategy that he quickly begins to ape. Thankfully, we do get 2 special defense drops in this fight, one on Kadabra, one on Bronzor, and we're able to take the victory pretty quickly. There's the fight with Commander Mars at the next lake, and this one I'm not too concerned about. Jupiter would be worse with a Skuntank since we don't have any neutral moves versus it. This fight is interesting, which is me being polite because it was actually annoying. Golbat is faster and tanky enough to survive extra sensory. The first time it lands an insipid air cutter, but the second turn it hits supersonic, and although we take it out, we have to fight Bronzor while confused. Bronzy does eventually knock it out with a flurry of Shadow Balls, but the confusion makes the fight go on longer than I genuinely would like it to. Still, it looks like I made the right decision. Last is Perugly, who is annoying. It hits slashes and feint attacks and even a hypnosis at one point, which drags the fight out even longer. Even when slash crits, it still doesn't do much to us though. Our defences hold firm. I wonder how long that will be the case though. We've still only had the 1 loss so far, but as we head into the next bit of the game, I wonder how quickly that will change. Next is the Ice Gym, and at least we've got a resistance here. I'm a little concerned about the hail damage that will get put up at the start, and also Sneasel, because we don't have a good way to damage those things on our current learn set. I could teach Bronzy Flash Cannon, but there's no moves I really want to get rid of. ATM. Candice is hard. We take down Snover easily enough, it only really lands an insipid Razor Leaf, which Bronzy shakes off. The bad news is that we don't hit a Abomasnow hard enough to knock it out, and when she heals it, after we've pounded it with all our might, it manages to put Bronzy to sleep with Grass Whistle. And then that and the hail damage chip away at us until finally Bronzy goes down. I retract my previous statement. I get rid of Confuse Ray for Flash Cannon. This should make this gym a lot easier. Well, the second time is actually a loss versus Abomasnow as well, thanks to a combination of Swagger, Grass Whistle, chip damage from Hail, and a flurry of Avalanche and Wood Hammer attacks. This is starting to get annoying. We could probably 2-hit Abomasnow with Flash Cannon too, after dealing big damage with the first one, but we never get the chance to land the second blow. I can't possibly have that much bad luck again, can I? Can I? Third attempt. I still lose thanks to Abomasnow putting Bronzy to sleep and confusing us again. We manage to take it and Sneasel out, but lose to Medicham this time, thanks to being weakened by the hail. Who would have thought the Ice Gym would cause so much trouble for a Steel type? For the fourth attempt, I grind up to level 67 outside the city. This is starting to get annoying now. Probably the worst thing is having to do the gym puzzle every single time. I'd be comfortably happy if Slider on Ice puzzles were completely removed from Pokemon games forever, because they're an absolute pain in the rear end. Come on Nintendo, don't have one in Gen 9, whatever you do. This time, we get to Medicham once again, but only have 6 HP left thanks to 4 turns of sleep and hitting ourselves in Confusion 3 times. Even when Grass Whistle did miss, Confusion meant we couldn't finish Abomasnow off. The truth is, we were lucky to get past Sneasel on that attempt, thanks to it using Taunt rather than attacking. I make the 5th attempt at level 69, maybe we can tank some hits a bit better. Even with the resistance, Woodhammer still does a lot of damage to us. This time goes better as we one-hit Snover and then blast Abomasnow with Flash Cannon for massive damage. It survives and goes for Avalanche, but the berry takes it out of healing range and we duly finish it off with another Flash Cannon. Sneasel hits Feint Attack, but we one-hit it with Flash Cannon, and last is Medicham. We're actually in good condition going into this. It uses Bulk Up twice, a scary prospect to be sure, but never lands a blow as we 2-hit it with Shadow Ball. Thank Arceus, that's over. There are Team Galactic shenanigans next as I fight through their Veilstone building to get to the next major opponent. That would be Cyrus, and this one is actually easy as, Murkrow aside, it's a one-shot sweep. Murkrow goes down to 2 Flash Cannons, landing a weak Astonish in retaliation. Golbat goes down to Extra Sensory, while Sneasel does hit Quick Attack but then goes down to Flash Cannon. There's a fight immediately afterwards versus Saturn that we soon get to. This one isn't too bad. Sure, Kadabra outspeeds and hits Shockwave, but we take it down quickly with Shadow Ball. Bronzor does confuse us midway through that battle, but 2 Shadow Balls sandwiching an Extra Sensory are enough to take it out before Toxicroak is a single hit with Extra Sensory. We beat him. Time for the next bit of the game, and it's usually the worst bit of Sinnoh games as we face the double battle with Mars and Jupiter. I'm taking solace in the fact that this can't be anywhere near as bad as the Psychic Gym was in last week's Emerald Challenge. That was horrible. Now, I'm not showing this fight in the entirety because it went on for the best part of 9 minutes, thanks to the early Bronzor using light screen. My usual strategy is to turn this fight into a 2-on-1, knock out all 3 of one of the opponent's Pokemon, and that way it cuts down on being clattered twice a turn. What never helps in this fight, what makes it so awful, is the rival's Munchlax, which is useless in this fight, but come the next time you fight the rival at the Pokemon League, that Munchlax has turned into a Snorlax that is a finely honed killing machine. The Munchlax genuinely is that useless that after a while, they start to focus on just attacking Bronzy, who finishes the fight on red health, but ultimately, we triumph. There's not really much more I can say about this fight, it's a pain, but we got through it with minimal fuss. I have to fight Cyrus immediately after, but hey, this is Pokemon Pearl, not Platinum, so there's no Distortion World hijinks here. Anyway, this is a close fight, as Honchkrow goes down to 2 Flash Cannons, but hits a Steel Wing for 10 points of damage, which still did more than I thought it would. Gyarados goes down to a flurry of Extra Sensory and Grass Knot attacks, but deals big damage with Aqua Tail and Giga Impact. The former, more than the latter, is dangerous. Weavile is a 2-hit with Flash Cannon, but does deal some good damage with Ice Punch and Night Slash. We're getting close to the end. Last is Crobat, who is faster than Bronzy and goes for a bite, but thankfully there's no flinch. An Extra Sensory brings it into healing range, and a second one puts it on yellow health before it goes for Confuse Ray. It's all or nothing, but Bronzy pulls through, managing to land that final Extra Sensory that ends the fight. If we didn't do that, we would probably have lost. Whew! I have a run to Sunyshore City now and the Electric Gym. I want the TM from here because the ability to raise our special attack will be useful. I'm not looking forward to Volkner, but at least he doesn't pack a Magnetone/Magnezone in Pearl. The first fight is awful and we don't even lose quickly. I knock out Raichu, eventually. It keeps putting Light Screen up, which, given all our moves are special, is a problem. We simply don't hit it hard enough. It paralyses Bronzy and then keeps hitting Brick Breaks, which don't do much damage individually, but getting tagged with them repeatedly is awful. We do eventually take it down, thankfully, and he then goes into Ambipom, who uses a combination of Nasty Plot and Baton Pass to power up Octillery. We do eventually take that down with Grass Knot, but the Aurora Beams do even more chip damage to us before Luxray comes in and finishes us off with Crunch and Thunderfang attacks. 6 minutes that battle went on for, and it's a loss. This is going to be painful, I can tell. I go to grind and also replace the Wise Glasses with the Shell Bell. I'll need that health recovery, no doubt. I move up to level 77 and try the fight again. It doesn't particularly go much better. Raichu doesn't use Light Screen but paralyses Bronzy and hits a few brick breaks before he crit it with Extra Sensory. That was fortunate at least. Ambipom we nearly knock out, but it uses 2 nasty plots and an agility before Baton passing out to Octillery, who only ever uses Bullet Seed, which is fortunate because I wouldn't want to get hit by one of its special moves. We take it down with Grass Knot attacks. Next is Luxray, who again wins. We get it onto red health, but it just outlasts us. That inability to hit hard is really threatening to cost us here. We were more unlucky in this fight with paralysis than the previous one, but I don't think we can do much about that. Even if I did give a Cherry Berry or something, there's nothing to stop us from being paralysed again. I try again at level 80. This is filling me with confidence for the Elite Four and Cynthia, said sarcastically. Hey, this is filling me with confidence for the final rival fight, never mind what comes after. Anyway, we do take out Raichu and Ambipom, but once again, go down to Luxray after a fight that takes 7 minutes of real time. I wonder how many times I'll have to say this. I go grind. I figure I'll make another try at level 82. In the last fight, I was at least fast enough to outspeed Raichu, so if I can get good flinch and or crit luck, I might be able to take it out without it putting up Light Screen or using Thunder Wave. 4th attempt, I have horrifically bad luck versus Raichu, as I come within a whisker of 2 hitting it. It survives the second hit on a fraction of red health and puts up Light Screen. Then, after he heals it, I come within a whisker of knocking it out again, and he paralyses Bronzy before the final blow comes in. Bronzy is then paralysed for 4 straight turns and gets lamped by repeated brick breaks. We take Raichu and Ambipom out, but then go down once again to Luxray. In the 5th attempt, we get Fortune. We grind up to level 85 and 2-hit Raichu with Extra Sensory, getting the flinch so that it doesn't hurt us. Ambipom is a 2-hit with Extra Sensory, but it hits us with a nasty plot boosted Shockwave, which does actually less damage than I thought it would. Luxray though is where the battle grinds to a halt once again, as it knows Thunder Wave and paralyses Bronzy. Still, when he heals, I change tactics and start to go for Shadow Ball rather than Extra Sensory, hoping to get the special defense drop, and I do just that on the second one. Bronzy is in red health but manages to knock Luxray out from just under half health. Now, with only a small amount of HP left, do I have enough to beat Octillery? It hits a weak Aurora Beam, and then I counter with Grass Knot before it launches Octazooka, and it misses with Bronzy on 31 HP. That was probably vital, as the second Grass Knot takes it out, and finally we can move on. I'm probably going to replace Flash Cannon with Charge Beam. I need the potential special attack boost. Mind you, I'll probably never get it. Not like when I was fighting Volkner, and he seemed to get it every other turn that he used it. Such is life, I guess. We've made it to the Pokemon League, and before we fight our rival, here are our stats. Defense is incredible. Special defense isn't too bad. Speed isn't actually that bad either. We're probably going to get outspeed a lot, but it could be worse. Now, you see why I wanted to try for special attack buffs from Charge Beam with that special attack stat. It could be worse. We could be using the physical attack stat. We've not really trained it, but this number is with a beneficial nature. The final rival fight goes a lot better than I thought it would. I thought this would be awful. Out of the 4 Sinnoh challenges I've done, Glameow, Ponyta and Shinx, plus this one was far and away the easiest. We hit Charge Beam on Staraptor and get the special attack buff before it U-turns out into Rapidash. It hits a Fire Blast, but we lash it with Extra Sensory. It burns us with Will-O-Wisp, which could be problematic, but we take it out with a Charge Beam and get another boost. I can live with special attacks from a Rapidash. Snorlax is a 4-hit with Grass Knot, and I thought this would be a problem, but we get good health recovery off each strike. It helped with the Snorlax using Rest. That helped a lot. Staraptor we take out with Charge Beam and get another buff. Heracross can be scary, but I'm not too worried as we take it out with the Soul Extra Sensory. Empoleon is a 2-hit with Charge Beam, only striking with a weak Shadow Claw in exchange. Last is Roserade, and it's a Soul hit with Extra Sensory. Arceus Bless special attack buffs. The first of the Elite Four is Aaron, and his Drapion might be annoying, but the rest of his team shouldn't be too bad. The bug type is something we take neutral damage from, but it is what it is. This fight isn't hard, but there's definitely some annoying moments in it. Dustox narrowly survives Extra Sensory and puts up Light Screen before he heals it. I use a Charge Beam and get the attack boost, knocking it out with Extra Sensory moves. Beautifly goes down to Charge Beam, we get another boost in the process. Heracross does hit Mega Horn, but goes down to extra sensory, while Vespiquen goes down to 2 extra sensory attacks. I didn't want to use Charge Beam because of the pressure ability. I did use 3 PP ups, but we still only get 16 uses of that move, and I don't want to have to waste Ethers or Elixirs. Drapion barely takes any damage from Charge Beam, so I switch to a few Shadow Balls to try and get the special defense drop, which I do. Charge Beam then misses the finishing blow 3 times in a row, which is infuriating and probably a downfall of the strategy, but we take it down eventually. Next is Bertha. There's 2 things to note about this fight. If we had Levitate, this would be incredibly easy. Second of all, at least we won't get hurt with Sandstorm damage. This fight was awful when I took Pokemon Pearl on with Shinx. Grass Knot should work okay since Hippowdon and Golem are both pretty heavy and Quagsire and Whiscash are both 4 times weak to it. The fight starts and Quagsire goes down to a crit Grass Knot. Nice. Hippowdon would be a 2-hit with Grass Knot, but for the berry and it survives the second Grass Knot for her to heal it. It also hits a devastating Earthquake that wipes out nearly half our health, even with that massive defense stat. Thankfully it doesn't use that move again. Whiscash goes down to a combo of Grass Knot and extra sensory. I don't think it's that heavy, even with it being 4 times weak to the move and a good special defense to boot. Golem is a 1-hit with Grass Knot before Sudowoodo is last, and the 2 trade blows over and over until Bertha heals it. Grass Knot doesn't do much damage, but we get it to red health again as Sudowoodo hits Earthquake. We land on 1 HP, and I can't believe I've gotten away with it. Right up until it uses Sucker Punch and knocks Bronzy out. How did I lose that fight? Let's try again a level or so higher. I come back at level 91, and it does make a difference. We're still strong enough to 1-hit Quagsire with Grass Knot, even without a crit. Mind you, I don't know how heavy Quagsire is. The Hippowdon fight goes similarly as before. I take it out. It doesn't land Earthquake this time, which is fortunate. Whiscash's fight goes similar. I wish it kept using Zen Headbutt. We quad resist that move, but it gets wise and starts Aqua Tailing instead. Golem goes down in the same way. And finally, last is Sudowoodo, and we get a special defense drop hitting it with Shadow Ball. So I slam it with extra sensory attacks until it finally goes down and we can move on. Flint is next, and this one shouldn't be too bad actually. We do have Heat Proof, and that'll count for something I think. Infinite might be an issue, but if we can tank a hit or 2, we should be fine. We have a lot of problems with Rapidash. It uses Sunny Day and hits 2 Solar Beams, which aren't problems. But when it burns Bronzy with Flare Blitz, that is probably a death knell for the fight. Particularly when Infinite comes out, outspeeds and hits a crit, Sun Boosted Flare Blitz, which ends the fight. Crap. Grind up a bit and try again then. I come back at level 94. I put the Razor Claw on rather than the Shell Bell to see if it makes a difference. A few crits here and there could be formidable. If I fail this attempt, I'll max out to level 100 with my rare candies and go for broke. The second attempt goes better. We do get 2 special attack boosts from Charge Beam, but again, Rapidash burns us with a Sun Boosted Flare Blitz. Twice in a row. Infinite only goes for Thunder Punch and we can 1-hit it with extra sensory thanks to the boosts. Steelix is a 2-hit with Grass Knot. Drifblim is tanky enough to survive a Soul Shadow Ball and he heals it, meaning the burn damage saps us away. We make it to Lopunny with 1 hit point remaining, and I think I'm going to do it if only I can attack first. I don't. It outspeeds and hits Fire Punch and we lose. Okay, max level it is then. I'll probably need this for Lucian and Cynthia, so let's get it on. Here are our stats at level 100. Defense is incredible. Special defense is pretty good too. Speed isn't bad, but it remains, as I predicted, going in. We are going to struggle to hit them hard. Third attempt to Flint is a loss as we crit Rapidash but don't quite knock it out. Because we're not hitting Charge Beams and getting a boosted attack, we can't 1-hit Infinite either. I tried to fire a Charge Beam at it, but giving Infinite 3 hits on Bronzy probably isn't the smartest idea. Steelix goes down to a flurry of Grass Knots before Drifblim uses Double Team and then Baton passes into Lopunny, who takes Bronzy out with 2 Mirror Coats. That is going to be an issue, I think. I'm probably going to need to be strong enough to 1-hit Lopunny, or else hope that it doesn't use that move. Anyway, the next one goes better as I Charge Beam Rapidash into submission, getting a boost. That boost is enough for us to 1-hit Infinite. It does no Earthquake, but it's actually quite uninspired on Bronzy. Steelix goes down to a series of Grass Knot attacks. Versus Drifblim, I use Charge Beam attacks to take it out to get another boost ahead of Lopunny, who is a free hit with extra sensory thanks to Flint healing it. Let's move on. I've been dreading this next one. I think I might have to charge beam a lot at the start of the fight because we won't win otherwise. Lucien's Bronzong is a monster. It's a defensive wall and plus it knows Calm Mind, so that will be terrifying in trying to hurt it. He's clearly done the post-game section of all this. I'm not too worried about it hurting us, but I think we'll struggle to harm it. Lucien is... Actually, make up your mind. I charge beam repeatedly on Mr. Mime. It uses Reflect and Light Screen, but the only attacking move it uses is Psychic, and given we quad resist, that is not an issue. I must get like 3 or 4 boosts with charge beam over the course of the fight, and eventually we take it down before Medicham comes out next. I hit a Shadow Ball, which it narrowly survives and hits Fire Punch. I'm expecting a heal and go for charge beam, but it takes it out. Bronzong is next, and we've got at least +4 in our special attack. Shadow Ball does massive damage. It eats the berry and then uses Calm Mind. Our next Shadow Ball isn't quite enough to take it out, but again, he doesn't heal and I finish it with Charge Beam. Next is Alakazam, who hits Focus Blast, but we tank it and put it down with Shadow Ball. Last is Girafarig, who we hit a Grass Knot on before he heals, but we take it out with 2 extra sensory attacks, getting blasted with a pair of Psychics. That was easier than I expected, but I had good boost luck, which counted for a lot. I wonder if I'll get that same luck versus Cynthia. I really don't want to be firing a lot of charge beams versus Spiritomb due to the pressure ability. I nearly get away with this. Nearly. Spiritomb, I fire a few charge beams at, but I'm wary because sometimes she does switch without warning. I get 1 boost before taking it out with Shadow Ball. Gastrodon is a 2-hit with Grass Knot. The one attack it does use is Stone Edge, which is fortunate because the move does virtually nothing on Bronzy. Garchomp, I hammer away at with Grass Knot, Shadow Ball and Extra Sensory, trying to find a consistent means of damaging it. Thankfully, the only moves it lands are Giga Impacts, which we tank quite well. Lucario is a 2-hit with Extra Sensory. Thankfully, it only uses Dragon Pulse twice, which we can stomach. Next is Milotic. We land 2 charge beams, the second one of which is a crit, and then it counters with Mirror Coat and knocks Bronzy straight out. Crap, I thought that was going too well. Next attempt, we do get a bunch of boosts up versus Spiritomb, but it also unfortunately gets 2 power-ups from Silverwind, which is annoying, and we go down in the first round. I think I do need to power up as much as possible here, because it will be hard otherwise. The next attempt, I throw Caution to the Wind and just charge beam repeatedly on Spiritomb, and once again it gets 2 boosts from Silverwind, but it never really hits us for big damage. It's nothing we can't come back from. I must get maybe 3 or 4 boosts before taking Spiritomb down. Gastrodon is a 1-hit with Grass Knot, such is our power, before Garchomp is next. Shadow Balls and Extra Sensory are the order of the bout, as it only goes for Giga Impact and Brick Break, when Earthquake would have just been terrifying. We do eventually take her down without suffering too much damage. Lucario just about survives Extra Sensory, and knowing that she's going to heal, I hit a Charge Beam and get another boost, and then take it out with Extra Sensory. Next is a dreaded Milotic, and I hit a Charge Beam and move first. I'm terrified of Mirror Coat, but it goes for Ice Beam. I hit another Charge Beam, we get another boost off these 2 moves, and it narrowly survives, but she sets up Aqua Ring. Knowing we can outspeed and she's going to heal, I knock it out with 2 extra sensory attacks. Last is Roserade, and I wonder if it can really hurt us. It can actually. Her Energy Ball does decent damage, wiping out about 30 to 40 points of health, but we then one-hit it with our super-powered Extra Sensory. Woo! With that done, we've beaten the game, we've conquered the run, and Bronzy and I go enter the Hall of Fame. Man, this challenge took a long time, and I'm glad that's over. Not because I didn't enjoy it, I did, but because of the duration. Gen 4 and 5 challenges always seem to take an eternity. And next week, I'm going to be staying on the dual screen era. I was originally going to do something else, but this one struck me. I'm going to try another Pokemon Y challenge. We're going back to Kalos, and we will see if I can beat it with just a single Farfetch'd. That could be interesting. Regardless, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, smash the subscribe, go for the comments and tell me what you thought. If you have any future ideas for challenges, then you can drop them in the comments. In the description for this video, there's links to my Twitter and my Discord where you can drop them too. Thanks so very much for coming along for the ride. Bronzor is something that I've never used, so it was an interesting challenge. Horrific at times, but I'm glad I did this. Next time we come to Gen 4 Sinnoh, I've already got something in mind that I want to do. But yeah, originally it was going to be a Gen 1 challenge next, but I've got this Farfetch'd urge in my head. Just hope you're still enjoying the challenges. I hope the sound is coming out better. Scott Sports gave me some advice, and turns out yelling into the microphone with it a millimetre from your face isn't the best idea. I always worry about being heard. What did we learn from this video? Bronzor is a pretty good support Pokemon, but it's absolutely toxic to your time to use this in a solo run. Hope you enjoyed this like I said. Catch you next week. This has been Once a Future Gamer, and I'm signing off now. Take care everybody.